You're 3,000 feet above New York City when suddenly both engines die. No thrust, no power, just silence. And the sound of air rushing past your window. You look outside, and the skyline is getting closer. What would you do? Most people would freeze, but one man didn't. This was the incredible story of U.S. Flight 1549. On January 15th, 2009, at LaGuardia Airport, Flight 1549 prepared for a routine trip to Charlotte. In the cockpit sat Captain Sully, 57 years old, composed, quiet, and deeply experienced, and First Officer Jeff Skiles, a veteran pilot himself. The aircraft, an Airbus A320. On board, 150 passengers and 5 crew members. At 3:24 p.m., the plane lifted off, its nose cutting through the cold air. Within 2 minutes, the passengers felt the familiar calm of ascent, a smooth climb over the glittering city. Everything was normal until it wasn't. At 2,800 feet, just minutes after takeoff, the plane flew directly into a flock of geese. A split second later, a sound like cannon fire. Both engines sucked in birds and died. The silence that followed was unreal. No engine roar, no power, only wind. 2 engines gone. No altitude, no runway. 155 lives in your hands, and less than 4 minutes to decide. What do you do when every second could be your last? Most pilots would panic, but Sully didn't. In those first seconds, his mind became a machine, analyzing altitude, glide distance, terrain, and wind. Years of experience condensed into instinct. Air traffic control radioed in. Sully, you can return to LaGuardia. But Sully looked ahead. He knew they were too low, too slow, too far. Then came another option. Teterboro Airport, across the Hudson River. Still, Sully said one word, unable, because by the time he could line up for Teterboro, they would already be in the ground. We're gonna be in the Hudson. 10 words that sealed his legacy forever. Sully angled the aircraft toward the river, gliding silently between Manhattan's towers. In the cabin, passengers clutched their seats. Some cried. Some prayed. Some simply stared, frozen in disbelief. The water rose fast in the windows. Sully's voice came over the speaker. Brace for impact. The passengers thought it was over, but what happened next would shock the world and rewrite aviation history forever. At 3:31 p.m., just 208 seconds after takeoff, Flight 1549 struck the Hudson River. The tail hit first, then the fuselage, slicing through the freezing water in perfect alignment. The plane shook violently, waves exploding around it, but it didn't break apart. It didn't sink instantly. It floated. Inside, chaos erupted. People screamed. Water rushed in. But the crew, calm, trained, and focused, began evacuating. Within minutes, passengers were out on the wings, shivering in the cold January air. Some knee-deep in the freezing river, others huddled together. Ferries nearby changed course immediately. Coast Guard boats closed in. Rescue teams pulled people from the icy water one by one. And through it all, Sully stayed on board. He walked the aisle twice, making sure no one was left behind. Only when the plane was empty did he step out onto the wing himself. 155 people, every single one alive. That day, the impossible happened, and the world called it the miracle on the Hudson. But Sully refused to call it a miracle. He said it was something far rarer. Discipline meeting destiny. When investigators reviewed the flight, they ran simulation after simulation. Most computer tests showed the plane could have made it back to an airport, but only if the pilots reacted instantly. The problem? No human could. It took Sully 35 seconds to assess before making his move. And those 35 seconds saved every life on board, because rushing would have caused a stall. And a stall over Manhattan meant total destruction. When the National Transportation Safety Board added that human delay into their models, every simulation ended in disaster. Except Sully's. He had made the only possible decision that worked in reality. This was US Airways Flight 1549, the day a pilot outsmarted gravity. Subscribe to Plane Crashes, where we explore real stories of disaster, survival, and the people who turn fear into flight.